Coming up on Mountain News this morning, the new COVID-19 subvariant taking hold over in Europe arrives in the U.S. And the governor announces some extra funding in hopes of bringing more tourism into the Commonwealth.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, I'm Keaton Hall. Your time is currently 5:59 on this Thursday morning. Let's check in with Brandon Robinson for a look at your forecast this morning.
Good morning, Keaton. It's been an interesting day so far, but an interesting couple of days because we had all that severe weather yesterday, very mild temperatures. Now things have calmed down a little bit this morning, and they're going to get cooler as we progress through the day. Let's take a look at our camera up on top of Whitesburg Pine Mountain this morning, and you can see that it's okay this morning. No major issues up there. We had a little bit of everything yesterday, some severe storms, a tornado watch. It was a very active afternoon, to say the least. 49 Ashland this morning. That is now the warm spot because Logan is down to 48, along with Prestonsburg, Irvin, London, and then we've got 43. Looks like our cooler. Nope, I actually told fib there. 42 in Monticello is now the cool spot. 43 in Wise right behind them there. 61 is our average high for this time of the year. Forecast high is 60. Record high 83. Set back on this day in 2007. Keaton.
Thank you, Brandon. COVID restrictions are relaxing, but across the pond, a new Omicron subvariant is causing cases to increase. WYMT's Dakota Makris talked with health leaders to find out if we should be concerned.
Omicron subvariant BA2, or stealth Omicron as some experts call it, is gaining ground just as masks are starting to come off.
This is no surprise to us. We knew that there would be more variants on the horizon. You know, I think we want to hope that we'll be done with COVID.
But so far has not been reported in Kentucky, saying the state lab is doing surveillance testing.
The state chooses a random sample of tests, and then they test to see, you know, how much is in the state, and then they do targeted testing, you know, sampling to see what areas it's in.
Experts say this variant is mutating similar to the flu virus.
And that as it circumnavigates the globe, I mean, worldwide travel is open again. The virus is traveling and it's mutating.
But doctors say the tools we have, such as vaccines, work to protect you from symptoms brought on by the variant.
Will protect from the Omicron variant, whether it's the first one, the BA1, or the second one, which is the BA2. It's essential to be boosted. That's the only protection we have.
Hoping we can keep BA2 at bay. In Hazard, Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News.
Some good news concerning the new variant. BA2 does not seem to be more severe than the other variants. Well, 4 grants totaling nearly $5 million will help Eastern Kentucky coal-impacted communities. ARH will use one of the grants to deliver a critical service that they do not currently offer in Eastern Kentucky. 2 25-bed long-term acute care hospitals are under construction in Pike and Perry counties. Beds will mean that loved ones can visit their families without the long drives.
These patients are typically critical patients, got a lot of health issues, and the goal is to get them recovered and get them back home to their loved ones.
Eastern Kentucky Pride, Southeast Kentucky Community Technical College, and Leadership Kentucky will receive the other 3 power grants recently announced. Kentucky lawmakers just have a few more days left to consider legislation for this year's General Assembly session. The last day to vote on a bill is April 14th, and the clock is ticking on a new spending plan and other high-profile legislation. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to the governor and lawmakers about the plans for the final days.
It is a much different situation for lawmakers this year. Usually talk of a budget uses words like austere or bare bones. This year, surplus is a popular word.
That means we can make game-changing and state-changing investments in education. It means with just 9% of our additional dollars, we can provide universal pre-K to every 4-year-old across the state.
However, neither House or Senate included preschool in their spending plans. There could be a tax rebate, though, and also trimming of the income tax. The proposals would also give state worker raises and more flexibility for school systems. The Senate president says they want to be cautious in what they do.
But we do have substantial monies, and we're going to try to make smart investments, and we're going to try to look at a tax code that puts some of the money back in people's pockets.
And there are 3 very controversial, high-profile issues that have been given a stamp of approval in the House. but have yet to be voted on in the Senate. The House narrowly approved a funding mechanism for charter schools, sports betting through online poker and wagering at horse tracks, and horse track-owned facilities cleared the full House. Medicinal cannabis passed the House, but its future in the Senate still has some question marks.
So what I'm hoping we will see is a continued discussion on this, more research, and we will continue this throughout the rest of the session to see what type of support there is.
Lawmakers will meet Thursday and Friday and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week before adjourning until April 13th for 2 days to consider veto overrides.
And I'll also just say I hope as we end the session that we don't see some of the cruel votes that we have seen, like cutting off $50 million of food aid to hungry seniors and children.
So this just returns the benefits to pre-COVID levels. That's all. And if there is no emergency, why do you have emergency funding?
In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
By law, the legislature must have a budget passed by the end of the session. That ends at midnight on April 14th. Governor Andy Beshear has announced new funding to showcase tourism in the state. 103 tourism and destination marketing organizations in 88 Kentucky counties will receive more than $5 million in funding. Governor Beshear says Kentucky has a lot to offer.
To market how great of a Commonwealth it is, to show everything from Cumberland Falls to Natural Bridge to Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley.
The governor says the money will help, but called on the General Assembly to invest more in tourism. The president of the National Education Association is touring schools across the country to see how they're operating as the pandemic winds down. Yesterday, she visited Frederick Douglass High School and the Carter G. Woodson Academy in Lexington. Becky Pringle says she was impressed with the in-house courtroom and media production studio at Douglass. She says she enjoyed seeing students at Woodson study Langston Hughes, but she says not every school has these resources, and she believes more should be done to reach every student. In October, we first told you about American Electric Power announcing its plans to sell Kentucky Power. As Kimberly Kagi explains, officials with Liberty Utilities, the company buying Kentucky Power, says they plan to save customers money by decreasing their monthly bills.
For Kenneth Castle, he says his electric bill's been on a steady climb.
Each month it steadily going up. When we moved in here approximately 2.5 years ago, it was running $148 a month. Now it's up to $228 a month.
In October, AEP announced they plan to sell their Kentucky operations, which includes Kentucky Power, to a new company, Liberty Utilities. David Swain with Liberty Utilities says customers could see a decrease in their bills of up to 16% upon closing of the sale.
We're doing a vacation on a rider that's helping to pay for the retirement of Big Sandy coal plant that was retired a few years ago. That'll go away for at least 3 years.
Plus, create a $40 million fund into a fuel account. That's to offset fluctuating fuel adjustment charges, which have been blamed as the culprit of many spiking bills.
Right now, if you have a high fuel cost hits a customer bill, they're seeing all of that impact at once. We hope to spread that out over a period of time, and it'll have to be approved by the commission.
To estimate the amount of savings you might see once the sale goes through, let's say your last bill was $150. You'll take $150, multiply that by 16%. In this case, it would save the customer about $24.
If the sale is approved, Castle's looking forward to the extra savings.
Well, that'd be great.
Kimberly Kagi, WYMT Mountain News.
The company also plans to add a call center and bring 100 additional jobs to Eastern Kentucky, but some mountain lawmakers are apparently not so sure about Liberty. Mountain Caucus is holding a news conference in Frankfort to discuss why they believe the sale will result in higher rates and poorer service.
6:08 here on this Thursday morning. We're seeing some cooler temperatures out there, much cooler than yesterday. I can tell you that already. Let's take a look, and you see most sensors back online this morning except for Pine Mountain, but we are below 50 everywhere in the region except for Charleston, West Virginia, and we're seeing some cooler air in place in Wise and in Monticello in the low 40s this morning. Wind is still cranking, so it's making it feel a little bit cooler out there this morning, anywhere from about 3 to 12 miles per hour. That's consistent wind speed. You get some of those gusts in there, it feels like a little cooler than that. 60 this afternoon, west-southwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting up to 20. So it will be breezy with some stray chances for rain possible with a mix of sun and clouds. As we look into the rest of the headlines, the temperature slide is underway. We will stay breezy for another couple of days, and we could see a few flurries this weekend. Keaton.
Thanks, Brandon, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. Coming up, oil prices see yet another jump as Russia announces the possibility of the country seeing some major shrinking of its exports.